Hey, it's Paul from howtoplaybassdotcom. Today's lesson we're going to look at how Tommy Shannon played through Johnny B Goode early on in his career with a guitarist called Johnny Winter on an album called Second Winter. Now it's really interesting, if you're a Tommy Shannon fan especially, to go and listen to the 4 or 5 albums Tommy recorded before he just vanished from the scene due to various personal issues and then didn't reappear until he came on scene with Stevie Ray Vaughan. I thought it'd be interesting to teach Johnny B Goode in this kind of style because there's some interesting things that Tommy Shannon does. One thing to note, if you listen to the original and compare it to the lesson, I'm going to teach it very straight 8th note feel. But on the original recording, Tommy's playing with mostly a straight 8th note feel, but the drummer on that recording has got a very subtle swing 8th note thing going on. There's this rhythmic clash between what they're doing, which is quite interesting to listen to. So do bear that in mind if you correlate this lesson to the original recording. Before we get started, if you're interested in blues rock, Tommy Shannon, players like that, you might be interested in a course I put together called Blues Rock 101, which goes into blues and blues rock and the vocabulary, looking at it in different keys, learning all the classic songs from the genres, etc, etc. Just click the link underneath this video and you'll be taken to a page which has got some more information. So if that is a genre of music that really appeals to you, it might be worth checking that out. Otherwise, let's get started and we'll go and start where the song commences, which is where Johnny Winter's playing the classic Johnny B Goode riff and Tommy Shannon starts with some big sustained bass notes. So we'll start there and carry on with the lesson. Just heard the intro to Johnny B Goode in the Johnny Winter style, inspired by the Johnny Winter style, played with the Band in the Box sketch track. It starts off with 2 stabs, each lasts 2 bars, 8 beats on B, the root note there of the B chord, there on the 7th fret of the E string, and we're going to pretty much play in this kind of location. We do come out of it for one bit in the E chord, which you'll see in a second. So from those 4 bars, we then come into the main kind of pattern itself. Got the E chord, we're going to play a 2-bar pattern, something like this. So we've got 2 E's, 7th fret of the A string, 2 C sharps, 9th fret of the E string, 2 B's, 7th fret of the E string, back to the C sharp. Then we're going to play 2 more E's, and we're going to drop down to the lower 3rd, G sharp, 4th fret of the E string. We're going to play 2 G sharps, 2 A's, 2 A sharps, 4th, 5th and 6th frets of the E string. That takes us back to B, and we're going to play this pattern for the next 2 bars. So we're playing 2 B's, 7th fret of the E string, 2 D sharps, 6th fret of the A string, 2 F sharps at the 9th fret, 2 G sharps, 6th fret of the D string. Then we're going to go back to B on the E string, 7th fret, play 2 of those, then play 2 G sharps, 6th fret of the D string, 2 F sharps, the 9th fret of the A string, 2 D sharps, 6th fret of the A string. That takes us to the turnaround, the last 4 bars. We start off in F sharp, we're going to play, so we're playing 2 F sharps, 2 D sharps, 2 C sharps, 2 D sharps, 9 and 6 of the D string for F sharp and D sharp, C sharp to 9th fret of the E string. That's the first bar of the F sharp, and the second bar is 2 F sharps, 2 D sharps, 2 C sharps, 2 C naturals, 8th fret of the E string, and then we've got the final 2 bars in B, and we're going to play something like this. So we're playing 2 B's, 2 D sharps, 2 F sharps, 2 G sharps. We've covered that pattern already, so you should have the note locations already. Then the final bar, we're going to play 2 B's, 2 octave B's, the 9th fret of the D string, 2 G sharps at the 6th fret of the D string, 2 F sharps, the 9th fret of the A string, back to G sharp, 2 of those. So that's the basic walkthrough. I'll just play it through slowly. So those are the 2 stabs. And we get onto the section in E. And that's the first part that we need to learn. It's kind of the instrumental introduction to the song. From there we go to the verse. A lot of the patterns that you've seen already, once you've learned and played this section, a lot of the patterns that we've seen already you'll find cropping up in the sections that follow. So do spend some time learning this section before you move on. Let's move on and we'll look at the patterns that Tommy Shannon played to the verse. If you just watched the playthrough that I did with Band in a Box, you might think that sounded familiar to the previous section, and indeed it did. The last 8 bars are identical to what we played in the last 8 bars of the instrumental introduction to Johnny B Goode. The main thing that's different is we don't have the stabs at the start of the tune or the long sustained notes. Instead we've got a 4-bar pattern where Tommy Shannon plays something like this. So what he's playing is 2 Bs, 2 G sharps, 9 and 6 of the D string, 2 F sharps, 9 of the A string, back to the G sharp at the 6th fret of the D string. He's playing that pattern 3 times. And then on the 4th time he varies it, he plays the 2 Bs, 2 G sharps, 2 F sharps, and then he plays 2 F naturals at the 8th fret of the D string. That brings him down to E, and then we've got the same kind of patterns that we used in the previous section of the tune. So we've got the main difference is here in the 8th bar. Those bars 5, 6 and 7 identical to what you've learnt before, but in the 8th bar we're going to play, which is 2 Bs, 2 G sharps, 9 and 6 of the D string, and then we're going to play 2 F sharps, 2 G sharps, which are 9 and 6 of the A string. That takes us to the turnaround starting on F sharp, and then the next 4 bars should sound pretty familiar because they're the same as the 4 bars previously, or the 4 bars of the turnaround of the first section. So all the note locations, all the note names will be in that previous section. I'll just play through that 12-bar section slowly without the backing track so you can just double check how it sounds. Okay, so that's the pattern that we're going to use for the verse. The chorus is very similar to that, but it's got a slight difference. We've got an anticipated root note on the even bars up to bar 10. So let's go and have a look at the chorus. Okay, you just heard the chorus section with the Band in a Box track. Essentially, everything that we're going to play in this section is as we've played before. The differences are these anticipated notes, as I said in the tail end of the previous section. So the first 2 bars we play something like this. So we're playing 2 Bs, 2 G sharps, 2 F sharps, 1 G sharp, back to B. Then we're playing another B, 2 G sharps, 2 F sharps, 2 G sharps. So it's that kind of feel. So all the patterns are the same, but we've just got at the end, the last eighth note of every odd numbered bar pattern goes to the next root note and holds for the first eighth note of that bar. So what I'm going to do, because we've covered all these patterns before and all the note locations, I'm just going to play through that section slowly so you can hear how it should sound and see what it looks like on the fingerboard. So let's do that. The only time in the chorus where you don't get the anticipated note is on the very last two bars when we play the pattern we've played before. So that's the chorus, the pattern that we use for the chorus in this kind of Johnny Winter version of Johnny B Goode. That just leaves two more sections to look at with minor variations of the patterns that you've already learned. Those sections are in the guitar solo. There's some stabs again in the first 4 bars of the section, and then at the ending there's just a little pattern to pick up at the ending. So let's move on and look at what happens in the guitar solo section. Just heard the kind of thing that happens in the guitar solo. Starts off with a note sustained for a bar, B, the octave, 9th fret of the D string. Then we play the lower version for a bar, 7th fret of the D string. And the third bar of this section, we play 2 of those Bs at the 7th fret of the E string, each one lasting 2 beats. And then we've got a pattern that leads us up to the E7 chord. We've got 2 Bs, 2 C sharps, 9th fret of the E string, 2 D naturals, 5th fret of the A string, 2 D sharp, 6th fret of the A string. That leads us to E, and from there we've got patterns that we've learnt already. I'll play through the whole 12 bars with those sections in, excuse me, without the backing track, so you can just hear for yourself. But everything else in this section we've already learnt, so let's do that. Okay, that would lead to another verse. The one other section of the tune we need to look at is the final chorus, where there's a little ending tagged on the end. So let's go and listen to that first with the band in a box sketch track, and then we'll just talk through that ending. Okay, you just heard the final chorus. The only thing that's different are the final 2 bars. We'll go from bar 9 rather, which is where the chord's on F sharp, so we'd play. And then when we get to the B chord, what we want to play is this. So we're playing 2 Bs, 7th fret of the E string of course, 2 D sharps, 6th fret of the A string, 2 E's, 7th fret of the A string, 2 F naturals, 8th fret of the A string. Then we're going to play F sharp, E, F sharp, B, 9, 7, 9 of the A string for F sharp and E, and 9 of the D string for that octave B. So I'll just play through that entire section slowly so you can hear that everything's as we did before. So it starts off like this. Okay, if you put those 5 sections, really you're only really learning 2 sections. You're learning the verse pattern and you're learning the chorus pattern, and then you look at the intro is a variation of the verse pattern. You look at this outro section or outro chorus, it's just a 2-bar variation of the chorus, and then the other section is the guitar solo in the middle where there's some stabs or some sustained notes. That's just like a variation of the verse pattern. If you think of it like that, you've actually only got 2 patterns, 2 sections to learn, and then you've got variations to those sections to put together to make the rest of the tune. So put those together, you'll be able to play through Johnny B Goode the way that Tommy Shannon did with Johnny Winter back in the late 60s. So I hope you enjoyed that tutorial, and I'll catch you in the next one.